September 15th, 2018. The setting sun cast long shadows across Millwood High School's soccer field as Coach Daniel Parker blew the final whistle of evening practice. 15 boys, aged 16 to 18, gathered around him, their breath visible in the crisp autumn air. "Good work today," Parker said, clapping his hands together. "Remember, district championships are just 3 weeks away. Every practice counts." The Millwood Wolves had been undefeated all season. For a small town of just under 10,000 people, team success had become a source of local pride. With Friday night games drawing crowds that rivaled those of the football team, as the players dispersed to collect their gear, Captain Jason Miller lingered to speak with Coach Parker about strategy for their upcoming game against their rivals, the Lakeside Eagles. "We should run through those corner kicks again tomorrow," Jason suggested, tossing a water bottle into his duffel bag. Parker nodded. "Good idea. See you boys tomorrow, 5 p.m. sharp." The team headed toward the parking lot behind the field, where parents waited in cars and some of the seniors who could drive had parked. The evening had grown darker, with heavy storm clouds gathering overhead. Weather forecasts had predicted severe thunderstorms that night. "Anyone want a ride?" offered Senior Mike Chen, jingling his car keys. "I can fit for more." "I'm in," called Ethan Brooks, followed by 3 other teammates. The remaining players split between 2 other cars and waiting parents. Within 15 minutes, the parking lot had emptied. What you're about to witness is one of the most disturbing disappearances we've ever covered here on Gone Cold. 16 young men who vanished after a routine soccer practice for 7 years. Their families lived with silence until a dog's digging uncovered the first clue to a conspiracy more chilling than anyone imagined. If you're new to our investigations, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. Every week, we uncover the truth behind cold cases the world forgot, stories the media left behind. But we spend months researching each case, gathering exclusive documents and testimony from people who've never spoken publicly. Because this isn't just true crime, this is true justice. Now let's return to that autumn evening in Millwood, where 16 lives were about to change forever. Coach Parker was the last to leave, locking the equipment shed before heading to his truck. None of them would ever be seen again. Asterisk. The first signs that something was wrong came later that evening. Parents began calling each other when their sons didn't return home. Calls to cell phones went straight to voicemail. It's by 10 p.m. The Millwood Police Department had received multiple reports of missing teenagers. Officer Sarah Reeves took the initial calls. At first, she suspected a team celebration had run late, or perhaps the boys had decided to get food together after practice. But as the calls multiplied and midnight approached with no word from any team member or the coach, concern deepened. Chief Thomas Garcia authorized an immediate search, focusing on routes between the school and the players' homes. The storm had hit full force by then, with heavy rain reducing visibility and making the search more difficult. By morning, the disappearance of the entire Millwood High soccer team and their coach had become a full-blown crisis. 15 teenagers and 1 adult had vanished without a trace. Their cars remained in the school parking lot untouched. Security camera footage showed the team finishing practice and heading toward the parking lot. But the cameras didn't cover the area where the vehicles were parked. The FBI arrived by noon the next day. Special Agent Marcus Dawson took charge of the investigation, setting up a command center in the school gymnasium. "In my 20 years with the Bureau, I've never seen anything like this," he told Chief Garcia privately. "An entire team doesn't just disappear." Asterisk, the search for the Millwood Wolves dominated national headlines for weeks. Hundreds of volunteers combed the woods surrounding the school. Dive teams searched the lake 2 miles east of town. Helicopters with thermal imaging surveyed the entire county. Nothing was found. No clothing, no cell phones, no signs of struggle. It was as if 16 people had simply vanished into the stormy night. Theories spread through the town and across internet forums. Some believed the team had been abducted, perhaps by a well-organized group, using the cover of the storm. Others suggested they had run away together in some kind of pact. The more sensational tabloids even proposed supernatural explanations. As weeks turned into months, the investigation stalled. The boys' lockers and bedrooms remained untouched, preserved by hopeful parents. The soccer field was temporarily closed, a memorial of flowers, photos, and team jerseys growing along its fence. Coach Parker's wife, Elaine, appeared on national television, pleading for information. Daniel loved those boys like sons, she said, her voice breaking. He would never willingly leave them or me. 1 year after the disappearance, the town held a candlelight vigil. 16 empty chairs stood on the soccer field, each bearing a name and a jersey number. The case remained open, but active leads had dried up. Life in Millwood slowly, painfully moved forward. The high school eventually formed a new soccer team, though no one would wear the numbers of the missing players. Scholarship fund was established, in their names, for 7 years. The mystery of the Millwood Wolves remained unsolved, a wound that never fully healed in the small community that had lost so many of its sons in a single night. Asterisk September 2025, 7 years later, Emma Reyes adjusted her police cap as she stepped out of her patrol car at Millwood High School. At 32, she had followed in her father's footsteps, joining the police force 6 years ago. Now a detective, she specialized in cold cases, a career choice directly influenced by the disappearance of the soccer team. Her brother Tyler had been one of the missing players. The 7th anniversary memorial was scheduled for that evening. As she did every year, Emma had taken the day off to help set up. The annual gathering had evolved from a somber vigil into something more complex. Memorial. Part reunion for the families who had formed unbreakable bonds through shared tragedy. Principal Diana Martinez greeted Emma at the entrance to the soccer field, which had been renamed Wolves Memorial Field 3 years after the disappearance. Detective Reyes Martinez said warmly. The maintenance crew finished setting up the chairs. 16, as always. Emma nodded, her throat tight. 7 years had dulled the pain but never erased it. 21 Tyler had been the oldest player, a senior who had stayed an extra year due to an injury that had delayed his graduation. He'd been accepted to State University on a soccer scholarship, set to begin the following January. The families will start arriving around 5, Emma said, checking her watch. I'll help with the photos. Each year, the display of photographs grew larger as families contributed new images, not of the boys as they had been, but as they might have become. Using age progression software, families created portraits of their missing sons as they would look now, 7 years older. It was both a comfort and a fresh wound each time. As Emma arranged the photo stands, her phone rang. Chief Garcia, who had been in charge the night of the disappearance and now neared retirement. Emma, I need you at the north end of the school property, he said without preamble. By the old maintenance shed? Something in his voice made her stomach clench. What's happened? Just get here. Come alone. Emma found Garcia standing with an elderly man who was restraining an excited golden retriever on a leash. The dog was muddy, pawing at the ground near a neglected corner of the school property, about 300 yards from the soccer field. This is Mr. Peterson, Garcia said. He was walking his dog, Max, when the animal started digging here. The old man looked shaken. Max never digs. But he wouldn't stop. And then he pulled this out. Garcia handed Emma an evidence bag. Inside was a tarnished silver watch, caked with dirt but still recognizable. Emma's hand trembled as she examined it. An inscription was barely visible on the back. To Tyler, state-bound love, Mom and Dad. It was her brother's graduation gift. He'd been wearing it the day he disappeared. We need ground-penetrating radar, Emma said, her voice surprisingly steady despite the storm of emotions inside her. And don't tell the families yet, not until we know more. Within an hour, the area had been cordoned off. Mr. Peterson and Max had been thanked and sent home with instructions to keep quiet about their discovery. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows reminiscent of that fateful September evening 7 years earlier, Emma stood watching as forensic technicians prepared to examine what lay beneath the seemingly ordinary patch of ground that had caught a dog's attention. Asterisk, by midnight, the memorial event had concluded without the family's learning of the discovery. Emma had gone through the motions, hugging parents who had become like extended family, all while carrying the weight of what might be unfolding at the edge of the school grounds. The forensic team worked through the night under portable lights, their equipment revealing disturbing abnormalities beneath the surface. By dawn, they had confirmed what Emma had feared since seeing the watch. Something or someone was buried there. Chief Garcia assembled a small team of trusted officers in the station's conference room, away from curious eyes. The FBI had been notified and were sending agents, including Marcus Dawson, who had never truly let go of the case despite being reassigned years ago. The GPR shows what appears to be a large underground structure, explained Dr. Lydia Patel, the forensic geologist, who had conducted the scan. She pointed to digital images on her tablet. It's approximately 40 feet by 25 feet, with a depth of about 15 feet. It appears to be man-made with reinforced walls. A bunker? Garcia asked. Asterisk, possibly, or some kind of old storage facility. It doesn't appear on any of the school's architectural plans or town records. Emma studied the images. How was it missed during the original search? It's well concealed, Dr. Patel explained. The entrance appears to be beneath what looks like a permanent concrete fixture, possibly disguised as part of the school's drainage system. Without knowing exactly where to look, it would be virtually undetectable. And it's deep enough that cadaver dogs wouldn't have picked up any scent. The implications hung heavy in the room. After 7 years of dead ends, they might finally have found the Millwood wolves. We need to excavate, Emma said, but carefully, and we need to prepare the families, like if their sons are down there. She couldn't finish the sentence. Of Tyler and his teammates lying beneath the ground, so close to where the town had held memorial services for years, was almost unbearable. Agent Dawson arrived by noon, looking older than Emma remembered. The case had clearly weighed on him, as much as it had on the local officers. I never believed they'd left willingly, he said after being briefed. The timing of the storm always felt too convenient perfect cover for something else. By mid-afternoon, a specialized excavation team had begun work, carefully removing layers of earth around what appeared to be a concealed entrance. As they dug deeper, they uncovered a metal hatch. It's disguised as a drainage access point, but clearly designed for a different purpose. Emma, Garcia, and Dawson stood watching as technicians examined the hatch for booby traps or alarm systems before attempting to open it. It's clear, the lead technician finally announced, but it's locked from the inside. The words sent a chill through those gathered. Locked from the inside. What did that mean for the team's fate? With specialized equipment, they began the process of cutting through the lock mechanism. Sun was setting again, another day passing in the 7-year mystery, when the technician finally announced, "We're through." As the ranking detective and the sister of one of the missing, she had insisted on being the first to enter. Equipped with protective gear and a body camera to document everything, she watched as the heavy metal hatch was finally lifted. Stale air rushed out, carrying a strange odor, not the decomposition they had feared, but something else.
Oh?
Musty. Chemical, institutional. Emma's flashlight beam penetrated the darkness below, revealing a metal ladder descending into what appeared to be a concrete chamber. Taking a deep breath, she began to climb down into the space that might finally reveal what had happened to her brother and his teammates on that stormy September night. The beam of Emma's flashlight played across concrete walls as she reached the bottom of the ladder. The underground chamber was larger than she had expected, with corridors branching off from a central area. The air was cool and strangely preserved, as if sealed away from the outside world. "I'm in," she reported through her radio. "It's some kind of bunker system, multiple rooms." Agent Dawson followed her down, then Chief Garcia. The 3 law enforcement officers moved cautiously through the main chamber, documenting everything. With cameras, the space was clearly designed for long-term occupation. They found a generator system, water filtration equipment, and storage areas containing preserved food with expiration dates ranging from 2018 to 2022. In one corner stood 16 cots, ranged in neat rows. "They were here," Emma whispered, running her gloved hand over one of the metal bed frames. "They lived here, at least for some time." In what appeared to be a makeshift office, they found a desk with a logbook. Emma opened it with trembling hands. The first entry was dated September 15th, 2018, the night of the disappearance. Storm provided perfect cover for relocation. All subjects secured without incident. Sedation administered during transport. Expecting disorientation upon waking. The entries continued daily for months, detailing what could only be described as some kind of experiment or observation. The subjects, the missing boys, and their coach were referred to by numbers rather than names. Subject 7 continues to resist integration. Increased monitoring required. Subjects 3, 8, and 12 showing promising adaptation to stimulus. Coach Subject 16, attempted communication with external sources. Privileges revoked. The last entry was dated April 10th, 2019, approximately 7 months after the disappearance. Containment compromised. Protocol Omega initiated. Facility 2. Be sealed and abandoned. All evidence of Project Chrysalis to be eliminated. Emma looked up at Dawson and Garcia, her face pale. They were experimenting on them. But who? And why? Deeper exploration of the bunker revealed a disturbing picture. One room contained what appeared to be medical equipment examination tables, monitoring devices, and cabinets still stocked. With unmarked medications, another held sophisticated communications equipment, now long dead, in what seemed to be a dormitory area. They found personal effects that confirmed the team's presence at Jersey with Jason Miller's number, Mike Chen's. Distinctive red sneakers, and a weathered photo of Coach Parker's wife, tucked under one of the pillows. They lived here, Garcia said, his voice hollow, for months. The most chilling discovery came in a room at the far end of the bunker. 16 lockers lined the wall, each labeled with a number corresponding to the subjects in the logbook. Emma approached locker number 9, the number assigned to her brother Tyler in the documentation. Inside, she found his wallet, phone, and a handwritten journal. With gloved hands, she carefully opened the journal to its final entry. They're watching us all the time. The doctors claim they're preparing us for something important. Jason tried to escape yesterday and hasn't been seen since, Coach thinks. They've moved him to another facility. I don't know how much longer we can last here. If anyone finds this, tell my family I tried to come home. Emma closed the journal, tears streaming down her face. They were alive. For months, they were. Right here under our feet while we searched everywhere else. But the ultimate question remained unanswered. Where were they now? The final chamber they discovered appeared to be a decontamination area leading to a second exit tunnel. This passage had collapsed or been deliberately sealed with tons of concrete and earth, making it impassable. This tunnel, Agent Dawson said, examining the blockage, where would it lead? Emma consulted the rough map they had created of the bunker system in relation to the school grounds above. Based on the direction, it would come out near the county road about a half-mile from here. Like a perfect extraction point, Garcia noted grimly. They could have moved 16 people out without anyone seeing. As the full investigation team carefully processed the underground facility, collecting evidence from every room, Emma sat on the steps leading up to the hatch, Tyler's journal clutched in her hands. After 7 years of wondering, they had found answers that only led to more questions. The Millwood wolves had not vanished into thin air during that storm. They had been taken deliberately targeted and hidden. Right under the community's nose while some unknown group conducted experiments on them. And then, when containment was compromised, as the logbook stated, they had been moved elsewhere. The discovery would bring a new wave of pain to the families who had spent years imagining their sons lost or dead. Now they would face the horror of knowing they had been alive, imprisoned, and subjected to unknown procedures before vanishing again, as dawn broke above ground. Emma emerged from the bunker into the early morning light. News vans had already begun to gather at the police perimeter. Word of the discovery having leaked despite their best efforts. Standing in the harsh glare of the rising sun, Emma made a silent promise to her brother and his teammates. This wasn't the end of the investigation, it was a new beginning. Whoever had taken the Millwood wolves had left behind too many clues in their abandoned bunker. There would be evidence, connections, trails to follow. 7 years ago, a storm had provided cover for 16 people to vanish. Now, a dog's innocent curiosity had uncovered the first real answers. And Emma Reyes would not rest until she found out where the tunnel led, who had taken her brother, and most asterisk. 3 months after the discovery of the bunker, Emma Reyes sat at her desk surrounded by case files. The investigation had expanded, dramatically drawing in federal agencies, including a specialized FBI task force. The bunker had yielded thousands of pieces of evidence: fingerprints, DNA samples, equipment, serial numbers, and documentation that painted a disturbing picture. Emma pinned another document to the massive evidence board that now covered an entire wall of the Millwood Police Department's conference room. The room had become the nerve center of what the media was calling the Wolves investigation, a case that had captured national attention once again. Agent Dawson entered, carrying 2 coffee cups. He handed one to Emma before surveying their progress. DNA results came back from the lab, he said. We've identified 3 distinct profiles that don't match any of the players or Coach Parker. Our mysterious doctors, Emma murmured, taking the file. The investigation had revealed that Project Chrysalis was not an isolated incident. Similar cases had been identified in 5 other states' athletic teams or performance groups that had disappeared under mysterious circumstances, often during extreme weather events that provided cover for the abductions. None of the other victims had ever been found. What made the Millwood case different was the abandoned bunker and the evidence left behind. The other operations had been executed with military precision, leaving virtually no trace. Something had gone wrong in Millwood, some breakdown in protocol that had forced the abductors to evacuate quickly, leaving behind crucial evidence. We've got a hit on one of the pharmaceutical supplies, Dawson said, pointing to a photograph of an unmarked vial found in the medical room. The compound is experimental, a performance enhancer that never received FDA approval. It was developed by a company called Nexus Biotechnologies. Never heard of them, because they officially don't exist. They're a shell corporation. Traced ownership through 7 different holding companies. All leads back to a defense contractor called Sentinel Operations Group. Emma's attention sharpened. Military. Private sector, but with significant government contracts, specialized in human performance enhancement research until 2017, when they supposedly shut down that division. Emma added the information too, their timeline, so a private military contractor was experimenting on high school athletes. The question is why? We may have an answer to that. Dawson pulled out his tablet and opened a classified file. This was buried in Pentagon archives. A research initiative called Next Generation Combat Performance. The military was looking into natural athletic ability as a foundation for enhanced soldier development. They were using kids as test subjects for super soldier research. Emma's! The voice was tight with anger. The official program was shut down for ethical concerns. But our theory is that Sentinel continued the research privately, using the infrastructure and protocols already developed. The picture was becoming clearer. But one crucial question remained unanswered. What happened to the Millwood Wolves after they were moved from the bunker? The breakthrough came unexpectedly. One of the communications devices recovered from the bunker contained encrypted data that cybersecurity experts had finally cracked. Among the decrypted files was a transport order dated April 11, 2019, day after the final logbook entry about containment being compromised. Subjects to be relocated to Site Omega for Phase 2 integration. Transport via standard protocol. Estimated arrival, 0600 hours. Attached was a set of coordinates. Northern Alaska, Emma said, looking at the map location. That's the middle of nowhere. Perfect place to hide an illegal research facility, Dawson noted. Within 48 hours, a joint FBI Homeland Security team was dispatched to the remote coordinates. Emma had fought successfully to be included, refusing to remain behind while others searched for her brother. The site was accessible only by helicopter. Located in a valley surrounded by mountains that blocked most signals, explaining why no communications had ever been detected. As they approached, Emma could see a compound of several buildings designed to blend into the landscape when viewed from above. But something was wrong. There was no movement, no signs of activity. When they landed and approached with tactical teams, they found the facility abandoned from the layer of undisturbed dust. It had been empty for years. "They're gone," Emma said, her voice hollow as she stood in what appeared to be a dormitory. 16 beds. Again. Personal items suggested the Millwood players had indeed been brought here, a book with Jason Miller's name inside the cover. A hand-carved chess piece that Emma recognized as something Tyler had made in woodshop, in an office area. They found documentation of Phase 2, the integration of enhanced physical capabilities with specialized training. Progress reports detailed how the subjects had responded to the treatments, with some showing remarkable adaptation while others experienced resistance to integration. The final reports were dated November 2021, more than 2 years after the team's disappearance. Then, nothing. As Emma wandered through the empty facility, she found herself in what appeared to be a recreation room. On a bulletin board, faded but still visible, was a photograph that stopped her heart. The Millwood Wolves, looking older than when they had disappeared, standing in formation on what appeared to be a training field. Their faces were thinner, more serious, but unmistakably them. "They were alive," she whispered, touching the photo. "At least until 2021, but where had they gone next?" 1 year after the discovery of the bunker, Emma stood before the gathered families in Millwood's community center. The investigation had become the most complex case in FBI history, spanning multiple sites, numerous shell corporations, and a web of classified government connections. What they had pieced together was this: Project Chrysalis had been an illegal continuation of a terminated military research program conducted by private contractors using the infrastructure of the abandoned program. Young athletes with exceptional natural abilities had been targeted as ideal subjects for experimental performance enhancement. The Millwood Wolves, along with at least 5 other groups across the country, had been abducted and subjected to medical procedures designed to enhance strength, speed, endurance, and cognitive function. The program had operated in phases, moving subjects from initial containment to more specialized training facilities as they progressed. But in early 2022, something had changed. Evidence suggested a raid on the Alaska facility by unknown forces, possibly a rival organization or even a government agency discovering the illegal operation. Documentation recovered from other sites indicated a catastrophic security breach and an emergency asset relocation. "We believe your sons were moved again," Emma told the families, her voice steady despite the difficulty of the moment. "The evidence suggests they were alive as of January 2022, but after that, the trail goes cold." The room was silent. After years of uncertainty, then months of horrifying revelations about experiments in captivity, the families now faced another painful reality. Their sons might still be out there somewhere, but finding them would be nearly impossible. "What happens now?" asked Mrs. Miller, Jason's mother, her face lined with years of grief and now this new torment. "The investigation continues," Emma assured them. "Federal agencies have made this a priority. International resources have been engaged. If your sons are still out there, we will find them." What she didn't say was what the classified briefings had suggested, that if the boys had been successfully integrated into whatever program Sentinel had been running, they might not even remember their former lives. The medical documentation had detailed memory suppression techniques and psychological reconditioning. After the meeting, Emma walked alone to the soccer field where it had all begun. The sun was setting, just as it had been when Tyler and his teammates had finished their final practice 7 years earlier. A memorial stone now stood at the edge of the field, graved with 16 names and a simple message: "Not forgotten." Below it, freshly planted flowers swayed in the evening breeze. Emma placed her hand on the cool stone. "I'm still looking, Ty," she whispered. As she turned to leave, her phone rang. It was Dawson. "We've got something," he said without preamble. "A Sentinel operative picked up in Thailand. He's talking, giving us names, locations, and Emma... He says some of the subjects were deployed for field operations, actual missions." Emma's heart raced. "Our boys?" "He doesn't know specific identities, but he claims that the most successful subjects from Project Chrysalis were formed into operational teams. Black Ops, deniable assets. They're using them, Emma." The implications were staggering. Teenagers abducted and experimented on, potentially turned into some kind of covert operatives. It seemed impossible, like something from a thriller novel rather than real life. There's more, Dawson continued. We've been authorized to release some of this information to the public, controlled disclosure, looking for witnesses who might have seen these operational teams. The higher-ups believe visibility might be our best chance of finding them now. 6 months later, Emma stood in front of news cameras alongside Agent Dawson and representatives from the Justice Department. The world was about to learn the truth, or at least as much of it as could be safely disclosed about Project Chrysalis and the fate of the Millwood Wolves. The investigation had revealed a conspiracy reaching into the highest levels of government, contracting with arrests of former military officials and corporate executives who had authorized the illegal program. The most important targets remained elusive: the 16 members of the Millwood soccer team. We believe they are alive, Emma stated firmly to the cameras, and we believe they may not be acting of their own free will. If you are watching this and you recognize any of these individuals, the screen behind her displayed age progressed photos of the missing team members, now men in their mid-20s. Please contact the number on your screen. Your information will be handled with the utmost confidentiality. As the press conference concluded, Emma's phone vibrated with a text message from an unknown number. When she opened it, she froze. Still, Wolves, still a team. Not safe to come home yet. Oh, Mom, I'm sorry about the watch. Emma looked up sharply, scanning the crowd, the street, the rooftops of nearby buildings. Was it possible, or was this a cruel hoax? She would trace the message, of course. Every resource would be deployed to find its origin. But deep in her heart, Emma knew. The message was from Tyler. Somehow, somewhere, her brother and his teammates were still together, still alive, and, someday, they would find their way home. As the 7th anniversary of the discovery that had changed everything approached, a golden retriever named Max, now elderly and moving slowly, returned daily to the spot where he had once dug up a watch. His owner, Mr. Peterson, would sit on a nearby bench, watching as the old dog sniffed around the area that had been thoroughly excavated and then restored. "Still looking for something, boy?" Peterson would ask, and Max would look up, as if to say that he knew something was still out there, waiting to be found. Just like the 16 young men who had vanished on a stormy September evening, leaving behind mysteries that continued to unravel, leading to truths stranger and more disturbing than anyone in the small town of Millwood could have imagined. The investigation would continue. The search would go on. Somewhere in the shadows, a team forged in captivity and experimentation was watching, waiting for their chance to truly come home. The Millwood Wolves case captures everything we stand for at Gone Cold. The belief that no disappearance should ever be forgotten. While our dramatization follows the clues we've uncovered, the real investigation is still ongoing. Somewhere. Those boys might still be out there. What do you think happened? Could a government contractor really be behind it? Or is there something even darker hidden beneath the school? Drop your theory in the comments. I read every one. If this case moved you, hit that like button. It helps us reach more people who care about uncovering the truth.